In this video, we will be discussing offer and acceptance part 2 of 2. We will be focusing on communication of the offer first. Offer must be communicated to the offeree, and acceptance without the knowledge of the offer is not possible, as seen in Gibbons vs. Proctor from the year 1891. In this case, P, a superintendent, offered a reward for information leading to the capture of X. G, a policeman, offered the info to a third party to relay it to P before he knew of the reward. G knew of the reward by the time the information was relayed to P, but the court held that G was entitled to the reward. This suggests that acceptance of an offer can occur even if one is unaware of the offer. General rule is that knowledge of an offer is required before it can be accepted, but an exception was made in this case because the offer was of a unilateral contract, where both parties have made similar offers, each unaware of others' offer. These are called cross offers. When cross offers are made, each of these offers is unaffected by the other, and a contract is not formed unless one party accepts the offer of the other, or both accept each other's offer, as seen in Tin vs. Hoffman from the year 1873. Moving on to the acceptance of the offer. The acceptance is the agreement to each and every term of the offer. It should be the mirror image of the offer. For example, if offer contains the clauses A, B, and C, then the acceptance must be in line with these terms and clauses. Furthermore, acceptance can even occur through conduct, as seen in Rivel Independent LLC vs. Anotech from the year 2016. Next important thing is communication of acceptance. Acceptance is not effective unless it is communicated, as established by Entors vs. Miles Far East Corporation. Acceptance cannot be made by silence, as elaborated in Feldhaus vs. Bindley. Where offerer fails to receive acceptance due to their own fault, acceptance occurs. The case for this is the Brimness. There are a few exceptions to the general rule that acceptance is not effective unless it is communicated. First is where offerer has waived off the requirement of communication, as was seen in Carlyle vs. Carbolic Smoke Balls. Second exception is where there is a unilateral offer. Such offers are accepted normally through performance. And the last exception is postal rule. Here, the communication of acceptance through post occurs as soon as the letter is posted, as established in Adams vs. Lindsell from the year 1818. This postal rule is only applicable where acceptance through post was reasonably contemplated, as seen in Household Fire Insurance vs. Grant from the year 1879. Another important thing to remember is that mode of communication for the acceptance is often inferred from the offer, as elaborated in Quinodine vs. Cole from the year 1883. Now let's discuss the fate of unaccepted offers. First situation can be where the offerer decides to revoke the offer, but this has to be done before the offeree accepts it, as seen in Payne vs. Cave from the year 1789. The second situation is the death of the offerer, as seen in Bradbury vs. Morgan from the year 1862. Third is where the time mentioned in the offer has passed. When this time has passed, the offer is no longer open for acceptance. And lastly, where the conditions or requirements of the offer are not in place, the offer will collapse.